Greetings, greetings, greetings. Today is May 16th, 2022. And this is going to be a when things don't add up regarding the sword of division and the Christian Messiah. Okay? It's going to be packed and brief. So let's jump right into it. Turn in your JPS to Isaiah chapter 11, verse 2. Isaiah chapter 11, verse 2. I'm sorry, chapter 11, we're going to start with verse 1. Sorry about that. So Isaiah chapter 11, verse 1. But a shoot shall grow out of the stump of Jesse. A twig shall sprout from his stock. The spirit of YaHuWaH shall alight upon him. A spirit of wisdom and insight, a spirit of counsel and valor, a spirit of devotion and reverence for YaHuWaH. He shall sense the truth by his reverence for YaHuWaH. He shall not judge by what his eyes behold, nor decide by what his ears perceive. Thus he shall judge the poor with equity and decide with justice for the lowly of the land. He shall strike down a land with the rod of his mouth and slay the wicked with the breath of his lips. Justice shall be the girdle of his loins and faithfulness the girdle of his waist. Now here's the catch this. The wolf shall dwell with the lamb. The leopard lie down with the kid or baby goat, the calf, the beast of prey, and the fatling together with a little boy to herd them. The cow and the bear shall graze, their young shall lie down together, and the lion, like the ox, shall eat straw. A babe shall play over a viper's hole, and an infant pass his hand over an adder's den. Now check it. In all of my sacred mount, nothing evil or vile shall be done, for the land shall be filled with devotion to YaHuWaH as water covers the sea. What we're getting out of this passage here that I've just read, Isaiah chapter 11, verse 1 through 9, is that there shall be peace, right? There shall not be war. There shall not be disruption amongst the people. The beasts of prey and the beasts and the predators shall dwell one together within harmony. That's what we're getting out of this. And in the sacred mount of YaHuWaH, there shall be the knowledge of YaHuWaH that goes forth, right? So it shall even be what it says, for the land shall be filled with the devotion to YaHuWaH. All right. And so I don't think you would have a Christian anywhere who will argue that this is not a Jewish, whatsoever have you, that this is not a messianic prophecy regarding the shoot, or in the King James Version, you'll read the root of Jesse. OK, this is a messianic prophecy regarding the regarding the one who shall come. Okay. Now, Christians will argue that the one who I'm saying shall come has already come, and that this is whom it is speaking of. That name that is often ascribed to that character that is found in the Christian New Testament is Jesus, YaHuWaH, Yeshua, YaHuShua, whatever you decide to name that character. The reality is, I don't think there will be any argument amongst anyone that this is a messianic prophecy. How you determine who that character is, that you'll find division, contention, and these things. But that this is a messianic prophecy, I don't believe that you will find any argument. And like I said, Christians will even argue so much as to say, this is the character of Jesus that Isaiah is speaking of. What I'm putting forth today is that is not the case. That There are two different situations going on here. And I'm going to bear and prove that out. And when things don't add up. Let's go ahead and turn to Luke in your Christian Bible, in your Christian New Testament, chapter 1. Luke chapter 1. So one of the things that we read in Isaiah chapter 11, verse 1 is, but a shoot shall grow out of the stump of Jesse. And I'm just going to read that in the Christian Bible, in the Isaiah, in the King James Version, right? Isaiah 11, chapter 1. I'm just going to read verse 1 as well, for clarity's sake. And there shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his roots. Branch there is in cap. You'll see the letter B in cap, indicating that this is making reference to the Messiah, who Christians call the Messiah. Okay, so there is no confusion, at least in the King James Version, about who this is speaking to. All right, this is speaking to the character that then will be later determined as Jesus. No question, no argument. It's right here in the book. Now, that being said, that's impossible. It can't be talking about who Christians call Jesus. Whoa. Why do I say that? Let's continue to read. Luke chapter 1, verse 34 and 35. It reads, then said Mary. So let me set the stage. So Gabriel has come now and is speaking to Mary. Okay. So when you hear angel, when I read angel, I'm shortening this for the time's sake, but Gabriel is this angel that Luke or whoever it is that wrote Luke, because when you go into the authorship of these gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, you won't find authorship. Nobody knows who actually wrote this. The names that have been ascribed to these gospels have been arbitrarily added there because these gospels do not have authorship. No one knows who actually wrote these gospels. They have no authorship. That being said, let's read whoever it is that wrote Luke wrote. Chapter 1, verse 34. Then said Mary unto the angel, how shall this be, seeing I know not a man? So what Mary is saying here is she's a virgin in the sense that she has not slept or had intimacy, had intercourse with a man. And then in verse 35, it reads, and the angel answered and said unto her, the Holy Ghost shall come upon thee, and the power of the highest shall overshadow thee. Therefore also that thing which shall be born of thee, of you, Mary, shall be called the Son of God. So what we see right here, and you won't find argument within any Christian anywhere, is that the Holy Ghost has planted a seed in Mary that then she goes on, according to the Christian narrative of this of the infancy narrative, that she goes on to give birth to a son who is she in Luke Mary's supposed to call, and in Matthew Joseph is supposed to call this child Jesus. Okay, let's repeat. Isaiah 11, chapter 11, verse 1. But a shoot shall grow out of the stump of Jesse, meaning that shoot, root, that child, that person is going to come from the lineage of Jesse. In Luke, however, we see that the child whom is called Jesus, or whatever it is you want to name him, does not come from the root shoot of Jesse, but comes from Mary, and as the Christian Bible as the Christian New Testament refers to, the Holy Ghost, not from Jesse. And what's important to note, this isn't Judaism. This isn't, I'm not speaking as a Jewish person here, where they will say that your Jewishness comes from your maternal, your mother. This ain't that. Okay? Because your tribe identification, which no one will argue, comes from your father. Understand? Your father is the one who determines your tribal identity, not your mother. What am I saying? It is impossible for the shoot that shall grow out of the stump of Jesse to be the same person that is then birthed from Mary and this Holy Ghost. Because Mary cannot carry the tribal identification that would be required to fulfill this messianic prophecy found in Isaiah. How do we know this? Let's turn. Stay right here. Stay in the same book. Same book. Let's turn to Numbers chapter 1. Turn to the book of Numbers chapter 1. Numbers chapter 1, verse 18. Same book. It reads. Well, let's start at verse 17 for context sake. And Moses and Aaron took these men which are expressed by their names. What they're doing here is a census, right? They're counting the heads. They're counting the men of Israel. Okay? So verse 18 says, and they assembled all the congregation together. Let me be very clear. They're counting heads. And because the script says they assembled all the congregation. They're counting heads. And they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month. And they declared their pedigrees after their families. Hear it. By the house of their fathers, according to the number of the names, from 20 years old and upward by their polls. By what? By the house of their fathers. Your father will determine your tribal identification, not your mother. According to the prophetic reference to the Messiah by Isaiah, the shoot shall come forth from the tribe of Judah. Jesse, David, right? Shall come forth from Jesse, from the tribe of Judah. Mary does not carry a tribal identification. Whatever genealogy you read within the Christian New Testament, you must first understand, according to the identifying properties necessary, this child must come from the seed of a man. And if you then agree that he comes from the seed of a man, well, now you have to discount and throw out this whole virgin birth malarkey. You can't have it both ways. Now, let's get back to the point at hand. Okay? Let's turn and tie in Isaiah chapter 2, we're going to start at verse 1. Because what we know from Isaiah chapter 11 is that amongst the animals, there shall be peace. Whether you're speaking of predator or prey, it don't matter. Right? Lions won't even eat sheep. Okay, they're going to be grazing on grass at that point. When the Messiah makes himself known. When the Messiah hit the land, he going to deal with the people from his mouth. And even the beasts of the field, even the beasts of earth will fall in line with the peace that the MaShiYaCh brings. Pardon me. Now, let's start at verse 1. The word that Isaiah, son of Amos, prophesied concerning Yehuda and Jerusalem. In the day, or Judah and Jerusalem. In the days to come, the mount of YaHuWaH's house shall stand firm above the mountains and tower above the hills, and all the nations shall gaze on it with joy. And the many peoples shall go and say, come, let us go up to the mount of YaHuWaH, to the house of Elohim of Jacob, that he may instruct us Okay. Yeah. That he may instruct us, pardon me, that he may instruct us in his ways, and that we may walk in his paths. For instruction shall come forth from Zion, the word of YaHuWaH from Jerusalem. Thus he will judge amongst the nations and arbitrate for the many peoples, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not take up sword against nation. They shall never again know war. This is what happens in the Christian New Testament. In the King James Version, you read in the latter days, or in the end days, right? This is what will happen in those times. When Jesus came, according to the Christian narrative in the Christian New Testament, when that figure popped the scene, and it shall come in the last days, according to the Christian according to the Christian Bible, right? So when that character popped the scene, what did he say that he was gonna do? We see that Isaiah, when the MaShiYaCh appears, that the beasts of the field shall be at peace one with another. And we see in these latter times that coming forth now in the mountain, we read in Isaiah 11:9, in all of my sacred mount, no, nothing evil or vile shall be done, for the land shall be filled with devotion to YaHuWaH as waters cover the sea. We read now in Isaiah 2 what that really consists of. But let's go ahead and check out with Jesus, or whatever it is you want to call him. Let's check out what he said he was going to do. Turn to Matthew 10. Because what I'm teaching here forth is that they are not the same. The Messiah of the Christian New Testament is a different situation than the Messiah in the Hebrew scriptures. They are not the same. Hear me clear. Okay, so Matthew, you're going to turn in your Christian New Testament to the whoever it is that wrote Matthew. We'll call it Matthew because that's the name that was given. Chapter 10. And we're going to start at verse 34. And these are in the red letters, right? So you know who's speaking. It was the person when you see the red letters is supposedly these are the words of the Christian Messiah. Chapter 10, verse 34. Think not that I am come to send peace on earth. I came not to send peace, but a sword. For I am come to set a man at variance against his father, and the daughter against her mother, and the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. And a man's foes shall be they of his own household. Understand, the Messiah of the Christian New Testament said out of his mouth that he came to bring a sword. The MaShiYaCh of the Hebrew scriptures, when he comes, shall bring peace. They cannot be the same because the Messiah of the Christian New Testament does not come from the seed of a man according to the Christian narrative, according to the infancy narrative put forth by whoever it is that wrote Matthew and whoever it is that wrote Luke. That entity is created out of Mary and the Holy Ghost, not coming from the root or the seed or the shoot of Jesse. They are not compatible one with another. And what exactly happened? Let's look at world history. If you Google the 30 Years' War, you'll see and you'll read about one of the most bloodiest wars of all human history. Okay, it's number 7 when in the bloodiest wars of all history that I had looked up. Number 7. It's reported that between 4.5 to 8 million people, Europeans largely, were slaughtered. Between who? The Catholic, the quote unquote Holy Roman Catholic Church and the Protestants, Christians. And then we have the Spanish and the Portuguese Inquisition, which would inevitably kick off the transatlantic slave trade. Look that up. And so, because of the Spanish and Portuguese Inquisition that happened between, now, if you're looking at the surface, you'll understand that it was between Christians and Jews. What you must understand is that back in those days, everybody knew that the Jews were Negroes. When you go to look up northern Spain, you'll see where the Negroes were. When you go to look up what happened during the Portuguese Inquisition or the Spanish Inquisition, which kicked the Negroes out of Spain, which kicked the Jews out of Spain into Portugal, where a large portion of Jews, Negroes, went into Portugal, you'll see then that the Portuguese Inquisition kicked up 1536. And during that time, that a large number of the Portuguese Inquisition would then remove Jews, Negroes, into the west coast of Africa. From there, the transatlantic slave trade, which would then happen. Look it up. Don't believe me. Look it up. Which would then happen, which was, as we all are then now taught in history books, in social studies, in the Americas, that due to the transatlantic slave trade, we have quote unquote Africans brought over to the Americas and then enslaved. The reality is that the Hebrews that were well understood to be Brews, if you look at the map from 1747 by Samuel Bowen, the large majority of that west coast of Africa, which is called Negro land, because it was identified that the Negroes were the ones who were in that land, were Brews, Hebrews. So I digress at that point. I didn't want to be before you too long. I just really wanted to illustrate that out of the mouth of the Christian Messiah, he came to bring a sword, not peace. Out of the mouth of the prophet Isaiah, the MaShiYaCh, when he comes, will bring peace. These two are incompatible with each other. They are not the same. Stop believing in the idolatry that is written, that is woven into the tapestry of the Christian New Testament. The Father said he is alone. Echad, he is one. Stop devoting your praise, your honor, your belief, your faith into them people's deities. The same ones who enslaved you called themselves Christians, brought you over on that good ship Jesus. Stop giving your energy to their deities. That was me speaking to the Brews who are in this land and abroad. For the stranger that attaches themselves to Israel, not the nation state of Europeans, but the people who are the Brews, welcome. Stop giving your energy to the deities that enslaved the people whom you have attached yourself to. In the name of YaHuWaH, we people Elohim. Shalom.